The hallway was quiet, save for the faint creak of the old floorboards beneath my bare feet. I thought Dylan was asleep. I only wanted to make sure he was all right before retreating to the cold, empty bed that had become too familiar these past months. But when I eased his door open just a crack, the soft amber glow of his bedside lamp stopped me cold. He lay stretched across the sheets like something carved from sunlight and shadow, one arm flung above his head, the other moving in slow, unhurried rhythm beneath the thin blanket that barely concealed him. Even through the fabric I could see the impossible outline, powerful, proud, alive with every breath he took. My lungs forgot how to work. I should have stepped back, closed the door, pretended I had seen nothing. Instead, a slow, treacherous warmth bloomed low in my stomach, and my hands began to tremble. His eyes found mine across the dim room. No surprise, no embarrassment, only a quiet, knowing smile that tilted the corner of his mouth and made my knees feel suddenly unreliable. He didn't stop moving. If anything, the rhythm grew more deliberate, more inviting. Come closer, Elena. I don't remember deciding to move. I only remember the heat rolling off his skin when I sank onto the edge of his bed, the way his breath caught, sharp and sudden, when my trembling fingers brushed his. I took over without a word, both hands needed just to steady the weight of him through the sheet. He was burning alive, every heartbeat echoing against my palms. A low, helpless sound rumbled in his chest as I traced the shape of him, learning, worshipping, afraid, and starving all at once. Thought you were asleep, I whispered, voice barely more than breath. Was hoping you'd come check, he answered, rough and low, the words curling around me like smoke. His fingers threaded gently into my hair, not pulling, simply anchoring, letting me choose how deep the fall would be. I fell. I pressed my lips to the warmth of him through the fabric first, reverent, almost afraid, feeling the shudder that ran through his entire body. When the sheet finally slipped away, I tasted salt and skin and the faint trace of his cologne, something clean and dangerously young. I took my time, savoring every ragged inhale, every tremor in his thighs, every time he breathed my name like it was the only word he still knew. His hand tightened in my hair, urging, but never forcing, praising in broken whispers that unraveled years of loneliness inside me. I felt him draw close, felt the warning tension in his muscles, but I didn't pull away. I wanted every secret he had to give. When he finally let go, it was with a deep, shaking groan that seemed to come from the center of the earth. I stayed there, forehead against his thigh, heart pounding so violently I was certain the whole house could hear it. Only then did I lift my eyes. His gaze was midnight dark, possessive, tender, terrifying. That was only the beginning, Elena, he said, voice husky with promise and danger. And in that moment, pressed against the warmth of him, breathing the same air, I knew he was right. I was already lost, and some part of me, the part that had been asleep for years, had never felt more awake. The guilt would come with morning light, the shame would try to drown me. But right then, in the hush of his room, with his fingers still tangled gently in my hair, I let myself feel everything I'd spent a lifetime pretending I didn't need. And it felt like breathing for the very first time. Morning light slipped through the curtains like liquid gold, but inside my chest everything was ice and broken glass. I lay tangled in the sheets, body still singing with echoes of the night, every heartbeat reminding me of places his hands had been. It had to be a dream, a cruel trick played by too many months of silence and empty evenings. But the faint ache between my shoulders, the warmth still lingering on my lips, told the truth louder than any denial. I pulled the covers over my head, trying to disappear, but guilt wrapped its fingers around my throat and squeezed. How was I supposed to look at Dylan again? How could I meet Victor's eyes tonight and pretend the world hadn't tilted off its axis? I stayed in bed far too long, listening for footsteps, praying the house would stay quiet. Only when the silence felt safe did I force myself into the shower. I turned the water, scalding, scrubbing until my skin glowed pink, but nothing washed away the memory of his voice saying my name like a claim. Eventually I dressed soft sweater, old jeans, hair twisted into a careless knot and went downstairs, armed with a single desperate plan: act normal, cook breakfast, wipe counters, smile. When Victor walked in, "Be why tonight, this would be buried so deep no one would ever find it." I repeated the lie all the way into the kitchen, and stopped dead. Dylan was already there, shirtless, sunlight pouring over his shoulders, damp hair falling across his forehead, every casual movement making muscle and shadow dance across his skin. He lifted his gaze and it pinned me in place, no longer the boy I'd known, but a man who had tasted forbidden fruit and wanted more. Heat rushed to my face. I spun toward the fridge, hiding behind the open door. "Morning, Elena," he said, low and amused, the words sliding down my spine like warm honey. I managed a strangled reply, hands shaking as I pulled out eggs. "You look different today," he added, voice velvet and dangerous. I slammed the door harder than I meant to. "Just eat," I muttered, sharper than intended. He only laughed, soft and knowing, the sound brushing against places I was trying to ignore. I kept my back to him, stirring eggs that didn't need stirring, begging him silently to leave. He didn't. I felt him approach heat first, then the faint scent of his shower gel until he stood just behind me, close enough that the air itself felt charged. "No need to pretend," he whispered against my ear, breath-raising goosebumps along my neck. "You felt it too. I saw it in your eyes." The spatula slipped from my fingers and clattered to the counter. "Stop." "It was a mistake," I said, turning to face him, desperate to rebuild the walls that had crumbled overnight. But his gaze held no remorse, only steady, blazing certainty, and every defense I had turned to smoke. "You want this again," he said quietly, stepping closer until I felt the counter at my back. His hand settled lightly on my hip, thumb tracing a slow circle through the fabric of my sweater. I drew a shaky breath, hating the way my body arched toward him like it had already chosen sides. "No," I whispered, but the word had no strength. He smiled, small, victorious, and leaned in until his forehead almost touched mine. "You crossed the line last night, Elena. There's no stepping back over it." Tears stung my eyes, but when his lips brushed mine, soft at first, then hungry, every protest melted. I kissed him back like a drowning woman reaching for air, fingers sliding into his damp hair, pulling him closer even as my mind screamed warnings. He lifted me onto the counter as if I weighed nothing, settling between my thighs, hands slipping beneath my sweater to trace the curve of my waist with reverent possession. I clung to his shoulders, lost in the storm of his mouth, the rhythm of his heartbeat against mine, the way he seemed to know exactly how to unravel me. We moved together in a breathless, desperate dance, skin against skin through thin layers of cotton, heat building until the world shrank to just this kitchen, just this moment. When the wave finally broke over us, I buried my face in his neck, trembling, tears mixing with the salt on his skin. And in the quiet aftermath, with broken dishes scattered at our feet and sunlight painting us gold, one terrifying truth settled in my bones. I felt no regret, not even a flicker, and that absence of remorse scared me far more than anything we had just done. Victor came home that evening, the front door clicking shut like the quiet closing of a chapter I never meant to end. From the kitchen doorway I watched him set down his briefcase, his tired smile blooming the moment he saw me. He crossed the room in 3 familiar strides and folded me into his arms, strong and warm, pressing a gentle kiss to my temple. "Missed you so much," he murmured, voice soft with the kind of love that used to feel like home. I hesitated for half a heartbeat, then hugged him back, forcing a smile, while everything inside me knotted tighter. His touch felt distant now, like a song I once knew by heart, but could no longer remember the words to. Dylan's warmth still lingered on my skin. His whispered name still echoed in my ears. Dinner stretched out like a slow punishment. Victor talked about his trip, laughing at little stories, completely unaware of the storm swirling across the table. I nodded, smiled when I was supposed to, but every bite tasted like nothing. Dylan sat directly opposite me, under the table. His foot brushed mine once, twice, deliberate, teasing, sending sparks racing up my leg. I jerked away so fast my wine glass toppled, shattering on the hardwood, red, spilling everywhere like an accusation. Victor knelt instantly, worry creasing his brow as he helped clean the mess. "Just clumsy tonight," I mumbled, eyes fixed on the floor, unable to meet Dylan's quiet, knowing smirk. Panic rose sharp and sour in my throat. After dinner, Victor disappeared upstairs for a shower, the steady rush of water sounding miles away. The second his footsteps faded, Dylan was there blocking the hallway, body close enough that I felt his heat before I saw him. "I need you again," he whispered, lips grazing my ear, hands settling possessively on my waist. I pushed him back, heart hammering with fear and guilt. "Stop. He's right upstairs." "This is wrong, it's always been wrong." Tears burned hot behind my eyes as I tried to hold on to the woman I used to be. He laughed softly, low and certain. "You love it, Elena. You love how alive it makes you feel." I hated that he was right, hated the ache his words stirred. You're just a boy, I hissed. Voice shaking, a reckless kid who doesn't understand what he's destroying. His eyes darkened, all playfulness gone. You didn't think I was a kid this morning when you were clinging to me, he said. Voice like ice. My hand moved before my mind caught up. The slap ringing through the hallway like a gunshot. He touched his cheek, then smiled slow, dangerous. Unshaken, you'll come back, he said simply. Fighting it only makes it sweeter. He walked away, leaving me trembling against the wall. Tears finally spilling over, I fled upstairs, locked the bathroom door, and slid to the cold tile floor. Sobs tore out of me, raw and ragged. What had I done? What kind of woman stares back from the mirror now pale, haunted, eyes red with regret? I didn't recognize her. I didn't want to. Days melted into weeks, and the house turned into a pressure cooker ready to explode. Dylan never stopped, fingertips brushing my arm when Victor looked away. Whispered promises slipping into my ear like silk-wrapped secrets. Every touch lit me up and broke me down at the same time. Victor felt the growing distance. He tried gentle questions, soft touches, movie nights on the couch like we used to have, but I pulled away every time. Terrified the truth would spill out and burn everything to the ground. It finally did. On a night Victor was out late with colleagues, I curled on the couch under a blanket, staring at a movie I wasn't watching. Chasing any scrap of normal, Dylan appeared in the doorway shirtless, sweatpants low on his hips. Eyes locked on me with quiet fire. No words. He didn't need them. 3 strides and the blanket was gone, his mouth on mine. Urgent and certain, I surrendered instantly, no fight left. Wrapping myself around him like he was the only solid thing in a world. Tilting sideways, we moved together right there on the couch, desperate, breathless, lost in each other. The room filled with nothing but heartbeats and whispered names. Then the front door creaked. Elena? Victor's voice, warm and happy, cut through the haze. I froze. Dylan heard it too. He pulled back just as Victor stepped into the living room. Time stopped. Victor's gaze swept over my tangled hair. Flushed cheeks. Dylan standing too close. Shirtless and unapologetic. Confusion turned to realization. Then to heartbreak so raw it stole the air from my lungs. Elena? He whispered again, voice cracking like thin ice. Tears poured down my face. I opened my mouth, but no words came, nothing that could fix this. He backed away, eyes shining with betrayal, then turned and walked out. The door closed with a quiet finality that broke something inside me forever. I sank to the floor, sobbing, arms wrapped around myself as if I could hold the pieces together. Dylan stood over me, expression calm, almost gentle. This was always going to happen, he said softly. You just didn't want to see it. Get out. I choked. He left without another word. Dawn found me still on the living room floor. Sunlight spilling across shattered glass and scattered cushions. Victor was gone. My marriage, my home, my old life gone. All that remained was the echo of a choice I could never unmake, and the terrifying whisper that some part of me still didn't want to.